guys, I'm your girl Queen Snukx. Welcome back to my channel. You are now tuning into Real Talk with Queen Snukx, Season 1. Hey guys, the time is finally here. We are getting into Season 1, Episode 1 of Real Talk, Getting to Know Queen Snukx. That's what y'all know me as. Queen Snukx, lesbian Queen Snukx, just Snukx. But my name is Lavacia Fort. I wasn't born Lavacia Fort, but we're going to get into that. I originally was born Fatima Shameka Lavacia Cobbs by a woman named Pamela Cobbs. That's my birth mom. I remember when I was 3, only way back till I was 3. I can't remember anything before 3 occurring in my life. Obviously, I was too young. I'm surprised and shocked that I even remember anything from 3. I remember the day I was taken from my mom, removed from a home, I would say. I was with family. I believe I was with family or maybe some cousins. I know I was at this house. I remember me being this little skinny little happy little baby girl running around the house in a little t-shirt and underwear, you know, playing with my little cousins or friends or, you know, somebody close to my mom. And I remember the house being clean. I remember it being spacious. It was furnished, but I don't know if it had a lot of furniture in there. I remember a couch, I remember a table. And the reason I remember the table specifically is because that's where all the snacks were. I remember getting a donut out of the box. And the moment, when I went to get the donut out of the box, there was a doorbell that rang that day. And I remember putting the donut down and running to the door, as normal kids would do, run to the door and go be nosy with the adult that's answering the door to see who was, you know, at the door. And it was my mom. And I know it was my mom because I was excited to see her. She gave me hugs and kisses like a mom would normally do. And she stayed for like a good, I don't even know if it was 5 minutes. I don't know if it was 10 minutes. I know it was quick. She was in and out. And she didn't want me to see her come in because she knew she was quickly running back out. And I remember when she was leaving out, I didn't want her to go. And now that I think back on it, that moment of, you know, that happened in this instant of time tells me why I probably didn't want her to go. That was going to be my last time seeing my mom. And I don't think I knew or she knew that that was going to be the moment that we broke apart. But I remember as she was leaving out, she gave me a kiss on my cheek and she said, "I'll be back, baby. Don't worry. You're going to stay here with your cousins." I remember her saying your cousins. "You're going to stay here with your cousins and play with the kids. I'll be right back. You know, mommy never leaves you forever. You know, if anything, I'm always going to come back. You know that, right?" And I remember saying, yeah. And she's giving me a big old hug and she told me she loved me. So me as this happy kid goes back, plays with the kids, you know, minding our own business, doing what we do. And another doorbell rings. And I didn't run so much to go see this doorbell. I didn't think it was my mom. I don't know what I thought at that age. It's so far back to even touch base on what my thoughts may have been. But I remember not running to the door. I remember being nosy from the side, like, you know, from the side of the wall, like looking in, coming from the back and looking in to see who it was. And it was three ladies. They looked like older ladies, not older ladies, but like, now that I could think back, they looked like they were in their 20s, you know, teens and 20s. Come to find out, they were there for me. And I was called to the front to come meet my older cousins. These are my mom's nieces. Now, I remember being introduced to them, and they were talking to each other. And I remember the lady that I was staying with saying, well, I know I have my own kids here, and I don't have enough space to keep her. I remember this conversation, not too much, but I remember bits and pieces of they can't keep me. She couldn't keep me there. She didn't have a lot of space. She has her own kids, and I guess it was becoming overbearing for her. And I remember my cousins coming and, you know, they're talking to me, and, you know, they're looking at me up and down, and, you know, at the time, I didn't think like they were looking at me in disgust, or, you know, I didn't feel any sort of way. I was just happy to meet family, and they seemed nice. You know, they seemed very loving at the time. You know, they gave me hugs, and they talked to me, and they asked me if I would like to leave with them and stuff like that. And I was just excited to go outside. And I was like, yeah, you know, like a normal kid, like, you know, any kid ready to go. We going. And so they told me that I was going to go see another cousin, and that they had to go meet up with my other cousin. So they talked for a while, and, you know, we talked. I can't remember the exact conversation, but I'm sure it was along the lines of me leaving with them, and if I was comfortable, and how did I feel. And I'm sure it was some questions about my mom brought up, but I can't pinpoint exactly what was said during that time. But I get my stuff, we go. I say bye to everybody. I'm excited. I get my donut. I finally get my donut. I wasn't leaving without it. I forgot about it when my mom came, but I finally get my donut, and we get out the door. I remember taking a train, and I don't know if I ever been on a train before, but I remember taking a train, remember walking some distance, and I remember going to Fort Greene at the time, where I was supposed to originally be dropped off to my older cousin. And my older cousin was pregnant at the time. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was around her due date. And so she asked my other cousin to keep me because she was going in labor soon, and she wasn't going to be able to keep me while she was at the hospital because she ain't going to have anybody to watch me at the time, if I remember right. And so, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was a little argument about that wasn't the agreement, you know, for her to come and stay with anybody else. You know, she asked them to go and pick me up, to bring me to her, knowing that, you know, it was her due date or whatever. They basically was saying that they did their part. They wasn't getting involved in keeping another kid, as they all had their own kids as well. Long story short, I wound up going with one of my cousins that picked me up. She wasn't so excited to have me, but she wasn't trying to make me feel uncomfortable neither. She wasn't thrilled about it. She had 2 kids of her own. She just had a baby herself. Her one son, the oldest son, was my age, and then she had the baby. So she took me home. I believe we were living in Marcy at the time. She took me home to the family and she introduced me to her husband at the time. And, you know, I don't know if they had a conversation about me or whatever, or if he was uncomfortable or not. I wasn't quite sure exactly. I was just shocked that I was in another place. I'm sure at that time I probably felt a little more scared, a little uncomfortable, because now I'm in an unfamiliar place, not knowing anybody, and, you know, everybody's welcoming is turning not so much as a welcome, but, you know, they're trying to keep it eggshell where you know, they're trying to keep me blinded by what's going on. But as a kid, you know, we tend to be nosy, and we pick up on things even though adults feel like at that age they don't know nothing. We hear everything. Kids at that age hear everything. And I was definitely one to hear a lot of things but not say anything because I didn't know what was going on. So from birth, I was an observer. I always been. So I meet her son. We're playing. He's by himself. He's into games and stuff like that. He wasn't thinking about nothing. He was only 3 too, but he was welcoming and excited that I was there, which made me feel a little at ease, I'm sure. And I remember them getting me settled, but not too settled. And I remember hearing a conversation between her and her sister. Now, not the sister I was originally supposed to go with, not the oldest sister, which she did have her baby that weekend, which was a coincidence. But her and her middle, so these are the 2 middle cousins having a conversation. And she's basically telling her like, well, you got a daughter. It's probably best that, you keep her with you. And she's debating back like, no, she can't stay with me. At the time, my mom had AIDS. She wasn't full blown positive. She just had AIDS. She was HIV positive. She was HIV positive. She didn't have full blown AIDS at the time. She was HIV positive, and she did not contract that while carrying me. She wound up contracting that because my mom was a really bad crackhead and into the streets really bad. And, they shared needles and shared things. And I'm sure she was out there getting her money the best way she can. If she wasn't getting it from family members or friends, I'm sure she was selling her body to get a hit, which most people know the game and how this works, so there's no secret or no undercover of what was really going on with my mom's. It didn't change no love that I had for my mom's either. So she was out there, and they were like being real sketchy about whether to take me, because they're looking at my mom as she has this disease. Of course, they're looking at me, think, I was considered a crack baby. I was considered, maybe she got what her mother got, and I got kids, and I can't have that around my kids. And, they were just very, unwelcoming. I'm just a kid. This is how I'm thinking back now. Like, I'm just a kid. They're treating me like I'm this disease or whatever, when all I wanted to do was stay where I was at, eating donuts and having fun with people that actually treated me like a human being but could not afford to keep me there, which is crazy. But they did their little fight back and forth. I wound up staying with the original cousin that I settled in with. I remember it was times where I would stay there. I got settled. They started to make me feel more a part of the family, and they started to even treat me like I was a part of the family. That didn't take no time at all, at all. And it was some good moments, and there was some bad moments, and there was some traumatizing moments that I experienced at this age. So, long story short, my cousin became my mother, and I became her daughter. Okay, so I know y'all probably like, well, how did your cousin become your mother and you became her daughter? Well, simple. As I settled into this home, things became more routine. So there was me getting up for school, you know, getting ready. Then she making breakfast. She's seeing us off. You know, we come home. She picking us up from school. She's making us dinner. She's helping us with homework. It became like a real family. That's what I was feeling like. And I noticed that her son was calling her mommy. And me at 3, you know, I don't have my mom. I don't see my mom. I haven't seen my mom in weeks. I haven't seen her. I haven't heard from her. I don't know what's going on, but I hear him calling her mommy, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm saying to myself, like, I think I want to call her mommy too, right? So I go to the kitchen. She's making spaghetti. I remember that day. She was making spaghetti that day. And I remember tapping her on her leg or her side. I remember tapping her. And she looked down and she said, what's going on, mama? She called me mama. Or mama or mamas. But she was like, what's going on, mamas? And I was like, well, you know, can I call you mommy? Is it bad if I call you mommy? Is it okay that I call you mommy? And she was like, you look at me as your mommy? And I'm like, now I'm saying to myself, like, oh, I don't know if I'm saying something wrong. You know what I mean? Am I doing something wrong? But I'm like, yeah, you know. And she's like, yeah, you could call me mommy. If that's what you feel, then yeah. So I think with me asking her, can I call her mommy, probably made her more comfortable with taking me in more, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But things changed a little bit. And to me, they changed different. So now that we done crossed that bridge with me going from being her cousin to me going to be her daughter, I started to get treated like I was her kid. We would get disciplined. That's when I was introduced to discipline. I would get whooped. I would be on punishment for days and months. We lived in the city, so of course we couldn't go outside by ourselves or anything like that. We played in our room. We learned life hands-on. You know, there was no technology at that time. There was no real video games. I think the only video game we had at that time was Nintendo. But we literally played with toys. Like our room was full of toys. I had to share a room with her sons. And I think the baby at the time slept out there with them. And I believe we were in a 1-bedroom apartment. So the living room was their bedroom. And then there was a couch in the living room. And then we had our bedroom, which was off from the kitchen and right across from the bathroom. So it wasn't much house at all. And then from the kitchen was the fireplace, fire escape, where you can, you know, if it was a fire, you can, you know, escape out the building from there. So we had a lot of bars on the window and things like that. And I can't exactly remember what floor we lived on. But anyways, in order for us to watch TV, we had to go out there and watch TV in the living room/bedroom. And I remember getting disciplined for the littlest things. Like, I think the most that traumatized me the most probably was getting a hole put in the long johns. Like, if we ripped anything that was brand new, we got disciplined for it. If something broke that normal kids would probably break, we got disciplined. We got disciplined from everything, from everything. And we didn't just get disciplined because I broke it. If I broke it, we all got disciplined. If he broke it, we all got disciplined. So we got disciplined for things that we didn't do. We got disciplined for things that we did do. And of course, we always lied because we didn't want to get in trouble. But at the end of the day, it didn't even matter if I lied or he lied because we were still getting in trouble together. So it made things, you know, I guess homely. I just took it as this was love. Now I'm taking it as this is love. This is how we get treated for love. But I was scared as shit. I ain't gonna hold you. I was scared as shit. I was always nervous. I didn't really want to speak. I didn't want to, you know, talk. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to make a wrong move. I was scared that I was going to get disciplined. Now I'm not going to sit there and say they was abusive because, you know, and I'm not making no excuse. Some of y'all probably watching this and probably like, no, that was abuse, you know. And some of y'all probably watching it like, oh, well, it's normal day life. In my eyes, it was a normal day life in my growing up days, in my household. That was us, tough love. We got disciplined, whether we did it or not. Whether it was small or whether it was big, we got disciplined. But I could tell you one thing. We were clothed, we were fed, we were clean. And we ain't have no problems. Now, I remember getting a phone call, a random phone call, from my mom. I remember my mom calling or something like that. And I remember speaking with my mom on the phone and asking her, like, you know, when she's coming to get me, normal kid stuff, when she's coming to get me, where she's at, you know, telling her I miss her and I love her and I want to go with her and things of that nature. And I remember her asking questions to me and I remember answering them. But I must have said something that triggered my cousin at the time because now I wasn't listening to the questions. I was just answering. And the reason I was just answering is because my cousin would take the phone and listen to what my mother had to say and then hand me the phone and tell me what to say. So now I'm nervous if I'm going to say the wrong thing because I'm watching her as she's telling me what to say. So I'm just like, you know, in your body when you feel like you're doing something wrong, but you can't say that you're doing something wrong because you're not quite sure if you're doing something wrong, but you got this feeling in your body that's saying it's wrong. Well, yeah, that was most of my life. Anyways, that happened for a long period of time. Few weeks, few months go by now, and now there's some people coming to visit the house. Now, I was schooled about these people coming to the house. I remember, let me back it up. Before these people start coming to the house, there was court dates. I remember court dates. It's time to go to court. Now, the reason these court dates was happening was to give my mom a chance to get me back. She pleaded, she put in the petitions, she wanted me back. She cried to have me back. She said she wanted me back. I was her only child. She wanted me to be with her. So we got all these court appearances where we got to go in and we got to speak to the judge, and my mom has to show up to show them that, you know, she wants me back and she's capable of taking care of me and she's capable of being the mother that I need, and she has a roof that I can be under, and she's able to clothe me and feed me and protect me and take care of me as a mother should. And I remember the first time going to court, I remember she came. I was super excited to see her. She came up. I seen her. I ran to her. And when I went to go run to her, I remember my cousin grabbing my arm and looking at me. And then I looked at her and I asked her, can I go see my mom? And she was like, go ahead. So I guess that was the way of saying I needed permission without speaking, but I knew something was wrong with the grab. Anyways, I get to my mom. I'm excited. I give her a hug. She's kissing me. And I remember her asking my cousin, can she take me to the store downstairs to get something? And I remember my cousin saying, yeah. And I also remember her saying, do not leave the building. Make sure you go and come back. I didn't pay no mind. I'm only 3, 4. Like 3, 4. Like, I know some time has went by. I'm like 3, 4. I ain't paying it no mind. Whatever, right? So we get in the elevator. My mom is talking to me. She's holding my hand. She's like, I missed you. I love you. How you been? I've been trying to get you to yourself. I want to talk to you about some things. And, you know, she's asking me how they treat me over there. She's asking me, am I eating? Excuse me. She's asking me, do I like it where I'm at? And she's asking me things like, you know, do I want to come home? Do I want to go with her? You know, and she's like, well, these are things you need to tell the judge. So I'm like, you know, okay, whatever. So we make our way back upstairs. It's time for court. I remember the judge stating that I think we had to come back. It had to be adjourned. You know, if you're from the city, then you know it's always packed in the courts, in the courtrooms. They're always adjourning things because they be so behind on things. But I remember the judge adjourning our session. So he told her that she had to come back and she had to come back clean. You know, not that she was dirty that day, but she had to come back clean. You know, she had to keep coming back clean because they're going to keep urine, you know, testing her urine to make sure that she's not doing what she says she's not doing, which was drugs. And that's what she was pleading, that she was not doing drugs, that she was done with that life or whatever the case may be, and that my cousins and them were lying or whatever. So she agreed. So we all walked downstairs or whatever. I'm holding my mom's hand. And I remember getting in front of the court. And I remember her kneeling down to me and talking to me and telling me, you know, I can't go with her today. And that she will be back for me the next court date. And that she loved me. And I remember her giving me a kiss. And then I remember her trying to walk away. And when I say that was the moment that tore my heart apart, that was the moment that hurt me the most. Because I wanted to go with my mom. I remember screaming and yelling and crying because I wanted to go with my mom. I wanted to be with her. I didn't want to go back with my cousin. I wanted to be with my mom and whatever she had going on. But I was too young to understand what she was going through, what she was doing. So I was hurt. I cried. I cried so much that she cried. I can remember the look back that she gave me from this day on. And I remember looking back. It was a look back this way, and while she was looking at me and walking away, She was hurt and in tears. I was hurt and in tears. My cousin was hurt and in tears because it was so much emotion of my cousin feeling like, damn, I'm ripping her from her daughter. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm taking her from her mother. And I can understand that because nobody wants to take somebody else's child from their parent. So I can tell that the emotion and the hurt was high. But from that day, I knew I would never, ever in my life forget what my mother's face looked like. That if I was to walk down the street, I would know who she is by the way she looked. I just remember her face clear as day. Like I can sketch it. That's how clear I knew I was going to remember my mom if I ever walked down the street again. And that day was the day that I think everybody emotions shifted. Okay, so leading up to getting to the court house, my cousins found out that, they did some research and found out that I could become a ward of the state and they can get money for having me. And I think they both did the research together. And now, here's the twisted part. And I can laugh about this because, I done felt like I done cried myself out. So, it's going to be times in here where y'all going to see me emotional. It's going to be times where y'all don't see me emotional, which is fine. But I can laugh about it now because it's just so crazy how the world thinks and how people are in real life. And me thinking back and them not thinking that I remember this stuff. This is what's the funny part. So I remember them doing their research and finding out that I can become a ward of the state, which, a ward of the state is a child that is, the state takes care of. And, but I live in someone else's home, but they provide the things that I need so I can be taken care of. The help. So once they found out that they can receive money for having me in a home and taking care of me, I no longer went as the crack baby, the AIDS baby. I went to the money, mine, the cha-ching baby, the one that's going to take care of the family. I became the baby that they was going to scam over. I became dollar signs. I went from being a human being to a dollar sign. Now they're not fighting over who don't want me in their home. Now they're fighting over who is going to keep me in their home and who I should stay with. Now the problems occur. When I say money is the root of all evil, money is the root of all evil, honey, because this money, me, that they were getting for me, tore the family up. It tore the family up. It caused the family to argue. It caused the family to have headaches. It caused the family to feel uncomfortable. They became at each other's throat because everybody wanted the money. And I believe the younger you are, the more money you get. The older you get, the less money you start to receive. Now they're making calls. How can I become a ward of the state? How can they get me? How can they get my mom's rights taken away? Because my mom has rights to me. So therefore, they just can't take me and just remove me and keep me. They have to go through these proper steps where they have to have my mom sign over her rights. They have to take me in. They have to go through the proper steps of knowing how to adopt a kid, how to, if they were eligible to adopt a kid, to see if they were eligible to keep me as a foster kid. Like all this stuff that was coming up with was just like money, 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 money. So when they did their research, they found out that the only way my mother can give up her rights is if she voluntarily signed them over, or if she gets arrested and end up in jail for a certain amount of time. That was going to be the easier way to get her rights taken. Let me just say, my family is good when it comes to getting some money and learning how to scam the system. Now all of a sudden, we got caseworkers coming in. They're looking at me. They're checking on me. They're looking at the house. They're, at this time, it's called CPS, Child Protective Services. They're looking to see if I'm in school. They're talking to me. They're talking to her, which is my cousin. Now we got court dates. Now it's time to go to court. And my mom has to make an appearance. And she has to make an appearance. And not only just an appearance, she has to make a clean appearance. She has to show that she's not in the streets. She's not doing drugs. That she is capable of taking care of me. When I say it was time to go, it was time to go. It is now time to make appointments to go and fulfill not my dreams, but my cousin's dreams of getting this money off of me and being able to live and, I don't know, have wealth. Wealth? Because she wanted to have a wealthy life. You know, there's money coming in. She could not just take care of me now. She could take care of her boys. And we all know how that goes. So anyways, CPS comes in. They're talking to me. Now CPS is making phone calls. They're talking to me on the phone. And the same thing that happened with my mom of me speaking with them. Now I don't speak. I just answer. So anytime a call was for me, I never got the chance to hold the whole conversation. And if I did have the chance to hold the whole conversation, somebody was on the other end of that phone listening to the second receiver to hear what was said, how it was said. I was always under the eye. Always. CPS on the phone, my cousin would listen. My cousin would tell me what to say. If I'm on the phone with my mom, after questions were done, I could stay on the phone, but my cousin was on the other phone listening. There was always somebody watching and listening to me. But nobody can actually hear my cry under my skin. Okay, so after that first time of my mom coming to the court and, you know, we breaking away or whatever and we leaving, my mom had to come back to court. Now, this is where I started to feel like my mom didn't want me and my mom didn't love me or care for me. And I started to feel disowned and didn't want to live at a young age. I didn't want to live anymore because I wanted my mom. Now, I don't know who my dad was or who he was. I was all about my mom. That's all I knew at that time. I remember going back to court. We had to go back and make a second appearance to court. And when we got there, my mom was a she was a no-show. And they was looking around for her or whatever, come to find out she was in a hospital. She was in a hospital and they re-adjourned it again. So now we had to come back again. The third time we came, she missed it again. Same excuse. She was in the hospital. So then I hear my cousins I hear them talking. I overhear them talking. And they're like, well, she in the hospital because she thinks she's slick. She's getting an IV because she knows that they have to drug test her. So she's getting her system flushed before she could come in, and it's too late. She was out in the streets. You would think that she would do what she would need to do to get her daughter back, but she ain't even trying. So once they knew where her mastermind was, they ran with it. You know what I'm saying? This was an easy way for them to, you know what I'm saying, to get me from under her belt. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it's a fourth appearance. This time they send a warrant for her arrest because now it's a no call, no show. Come to find out, she missed it because either she was in jail already or they gave her the wrong date and told her that was the court date so she can miss it. It was out of those two. I'm not sure. But I remember her being locked up. And when she was locked up, I remember the joy in my cousins' voices as they got it. This was it. This was the time. I was done. I was there. I was their money mine. I was in the making. It was over. It was a wrap. It was nothing else that my mom could do. They done slid me right from under her belt. And it was easy access. So paperwork was being done. They was moving fast. CPS was working with her. Like, I felt like everybody was against my mom. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I felt like my mom was against herself. She wanted to be right. She wanted to get right. It's not one mother on this earth that never wants to get right or do right by their kid. Once they get on that drug, it is hard to do right by your kid. It is hard to do right by yourself when that drug takes over. It's a mental thing. It's a feeling that I or anyone who never experienced that drug would ever know what it does for them. But it takes over the mind and eats at the brain, and it makes them selfish. That, I can tell you, makes them very selfish. But things came along, and I'm not adopted yet, but it's in the making, and we move. We relocate. Now we're living in Fort Greene. Moved from Marcy to Fort Greene. Now we in Fort Greene Projects. I meet my best friend there. Rest her soul, she's passed. But I meet my best friend, Connie, there. And Connie is sweet, and we kin so much. And the reason we kin so much is because, come to find out, her mother was the same way. The only difference is her mother was a functional crackhead. She wasn't one of those ones that left her kids, like, all her kids were older, but she was in the streets. She just took care of her home and took care of kids. Like, she was different. But Connie would always come and stay the night with me. I would always go stay the night with Connie. Me and Connie was like the best of friends. And she made me so happy. And I was always excited to see Connie. And I met our neighbor that lived upstairs, an older lady named Miss Johnson. And I met her while she was on her way to church. And I remember her being in this pretty, I want to say black and white dress. It was long, and she was all dressed up and girly in my eyes, girly. And I wasn't, I didn't get that experience ever. This was the first time. And I remember her saying to me, one day I can go to church with her. Because I remember them asking her where she was going. I remember her saying that she was going to church. And I remember asking, can I go to church? I didn't even know what church was. But if it would make them dress up and be cute like that, I wanted to go. So I remember her coming down and saying, you know, one day you can go to church with me if it's all right with your mom. And my mom was like, you can take her to church anytime. That's no problem to me. So I was living life. I was happy. You know, I was able to go outside in front of the building. I was able to play with my friend. You know, we were regular kids, just regular kids. We still got our discipline here and there. At this time, the baby is older, a little older, so we all run around just being regular children. And I remember at this time, now that we're a little older, and I think I had to be like 5 at this time, like 5. I remember my cousin wanting to go out. So they got a babysitter for us, of course. And they had our cousin, which isn't our real cousin, but we were introduced as our cousin because her and her friend were really close. So they called each other sisters. So we became cousins, right? And I remember them coming down and she would ask the girls to come watch us and they'll come watch us. And they were being mean, of course, because they were teenagers with boyfriends and they wanted to do what they wanted to do with their boyfriends and they didn't want us around, so they would always be mean. But whatever, we stayed in our room. We stayed out their way as much as we could. And one day, I remember she could not watch us. Now, mind you, I already just started going to church with Miss Johnson, so it's been a frequent thing for a while now. I'm going to church. I'm all cute and dolled up, you know, long periods of church too, from like 7 in the morning to like 8, 9 at night. Like, I lived in the church. We lived in the church. And we didn't have no car back then, so, you know, we had to take public transportation. So we lived in the church. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the church. That's how long we've been at the church all day. So Sundays would come, we'd go to church or whatever. But I remember the time when the girls could not watch us. And they really wanted to go out or they really had to go to work. I'm not sure which one it was. I want to say one time was in the daytime. I remember some daytimes and I remember some nighttime. So it might have been for both, going out and going to work. But I remember one particular night she asked Miss Johnson's grandson or son, I'm not sure who he was to her, to come downstairs to watch us. And he come down. Now, the baby, I want to say, was with the grandmother, but it was just me and my cousin. That was the same age as me. I remember him coming downstairs, and it's late. And I remember him telling my cousin it was time to go to bed. And so I was going to go to bed too. And he told me no, that I can stay up because I was being a good girl. So I was only 5. I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think nothing of it at all. I didn't think anything of it at all. So, of course, my cousin is like, you know, but why she get to stay up and I don't? And he's like, you know, you go do what I said or you're going to get in trouble. Or I'm going to tell your mother you're going to get a whooping. It's time to go to bed. So he goes to bed. He was able to watch TV, so he did not come back out the room. And the reason he didn't come back out the room is because we don't get a chance to watch TV. So once he was able to watch TV, that was it for him, you know, because we weren't allowed to do all that stuff. So he went to go watch TV, and I was in there, and I was watching TV, but I didn't look at it as no way until I started to feel uncomfortable. And the reason I started to feel uncomfortable is because he told me to come sit next to him. So I came to sit next to him. And then he told me to come stand on the side of him. Because I want to say he was on the couch like this, on this side of the couch. And I remember him saying, come over here and come tell him a secret. So, I would go over there. But I didn't have no secret to tell him. So I was like, well, what do you want me to say? And I remember him whispering in my ear, and I remember him telling me to like lick in his ear, like lick his ear, but pretend like I'm telling him a secret. So my heart started pounding because now I'm nervous. So I go over there and I do it. And I'm looking his ear, and then I got my hand over like I'm telling a secret. But I'm looking at the door because I'm like, is my cousin, is my cousin gonna come in here? Like somebody come in here because, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I didn't know I was doing something wrong, but your body talks to you. So I'm doing it or whatever. My cousin comes in and he immediately yells at him and tells him to go lay back down. So next thing you know, he gets up, he goes to check on my cousin. He sees that my cousin is asleep. And so I'm ready to go and lay down because now I'm nervous. And he tells me I'm not going nowhere, that I need to, that I could stay up. So he tells me he tells me to come sit on the side of him. I come sit on the side of him. And he's like, I want you to do something, but you can't tell your mother or your father. I'm going to tell you a secret, and you can't tell them. And I was like, okay. And so he said, I want you to do this, but if you tell them, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to get a whooping. And you don't want no whooping, right? And I'm like, no. And I was like, no. And he was like, well, if you tell them, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to get a whooping. So I was like, I was nervous, and I'm like, well, geez, like, I don't want to get a whooping. So he unzips his pants and he pulls out his penis. And he tells me to kiss it. So I said, I'm going to get in trouble. I can't do that. And he said, yes, you can. You're going to get in trouble if you don't do it. And I'm going to tell your mother and your father that you were acting up. And if you act up, you're going to get a whooping. So I get nervous, and he's like, stand up. And he tells me to, stand in front of him. And he tells me to kiss it. So I kiss it. Because I didn't know. So I kiss it. And he tells me to do it again. So I do it again. Then he tells me to open my mouth and to lick it. So I open my mouth and I lick it. And the whole time that I'm doing this, I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble. My body is telling me that I'm doing something wrong. So now he's telling me, like, he got his hand on my head and he's doing this. So basically, he's making me please him. I go to bed. After this, I go to bed. I asked, can I go to bed? I was told I can go to bed. I don't remember what was going on or what happened. I don't remember too much. I just know my mouth was violated at that age. I remember my cousins and my cousin questioning me, asking me, is everything okay? Asking did he touch me and stuff like that, which I thought was so weird the next day. But now that I'm a mom, it makes sense why you question, because you wasn't there. I was asleep, so you're not going to wake somebody up. But the next day you want to know if everything went okay. And she's asking me, like, did he touch you? Was he okay? Did you see anything suspicious? And I'm like, no. Because then the reason I'm saying no is because the whole time in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get a whooping. I'm going to get in trouble. I can't say nothing because I'm going to get a whooping. This must have happened at least 3 times that I can remember. Next thing you know, he stopped watching us, and his brother started watching us. Now, his brother watched us during the daytime. I remember us being in my bedroom, me and my cousin. Now, we were both on the floor. I think I was jumping on the bed or something like that, or sitting on the bed. And my cousin was on the floor playing with his toys, and the room was a mess. Like, it was toys everywhere. It was toys everywhere. And I remember him coming in and laying on the bed, which was my bed, because the boys had the bunk bed and I had the single bed, which was my bed. He laid on my bed and he told me to come lay down with him. And so I laid down with him, and then he covered us. And he told my cousin to continue to watch TV and mind his business. Ain't nothing happening up here. But I think my cousin kind of knew something was happening too, because things were just weird. And so he would play with the toys, but, you know, he would do one of these glance look, like, you know, he wanted to look, but he was so nervous. And everybody kept telling us we was going to get in trouble, we was going to get whoopings. And we ain't want to get in trouble and get no whoopings. So I remember him pulling my pants down. My heart starts pounding. He's pulling my pants down. Now, I wasn't taught good touch, bad touch. I wasn't taught that at an age. We just start learning this when we have our own kids. So I didn't know nothing about good touch, bad touch. But I remember my cousin saying nobody touched me there unless it's her or my dad. And not even my dad can touch me there. So I was confused on what was going on. But he was pulling my pants down. And I remember me clenching my legs really, really tight, because now I'm laying in a fetal position. He got me pulled over. Now, I'm not that big. I wasn't that big. I'm not that big now. I remember him pulling me closer to him. And I remember him poking me. And I was nervous. And I remember saying, "What's that?" And I remember him saying, "Shh," like that. And I remember him trying to put his penis in me. But my legs were clenched so tight that I think mentally he thought he was inside me. And he was stroking. I remember him stroking. I remember him stroking. I remember him stroking. And I was keeping my legs tight. And he remember him asking me, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You know, or shaking my head, "Yeah." I remember saying "yeah" or shaking my head, "yeah." And he was like, "Shh." And then every time my cousin would look, he would stop and he would tell him to turn around. All I remember is I wanted it to be over. I remember him getting up. I remember my pants that was pulled down a little bit were wet. And it wasn't wet for me, obviously. I remember that. I just wanted it to be over. I couldn't deal. I couldn't deal. I couldn't deal no more. I never told my cousins. I never told nobody. I kept it to myself. But I think they knew something was wrong, because every time I seen either one of them, I would squeeze the hand or I would stand behind. I would get very nervous and very shaky. So I got questioned a lot about them, but I would never say anything because I just knew I was getting in trouble. I don't even wish that moment on anybody's babies. Not even my worst enemy. And it's crazy how I can remember this thing like yesterday. But you know what they say? You remember anything that's traumatizing in your life like it just happened yesterday.